A novation agreement is always a way to fix and flip houses with no money out of your pocket. Check this out. I go to Craigslist, I find a car on there, right? Toyota Sequoia Limited 67,000. I could call this person right now and I could say, hey, if I could get you $9,000, would you sell it to me for $8,000? Interesting, right? So I call them, would you take 8,000? And they go, sure, I'll take 8,000. I go, great, I don't have 8,000, but I'm gonna go find somebody who does. That's a novation agreement. There's a reason why I don't love novation agreements. And you'll see a lot of people talk about novation agreements like they're cutting edge and they're all this kind of stuff. Novation agreements definitely play their part in real estate. But for me, I'd much rather just buy a property subject to. What are the chances of somebody on Craigslist taking $7,500 for a $9,000 vehicle? Pretty high. Most of the time people are listing high knowing that they're gonna get negotiated to, right? So a novation agreement is, I go, hey, will you take $7,500? They go, yes. Then the next thing I do is I go find somebody that is willing to pay $9,000 or even more maybe. And I take this $9,000 and I pay that $7,500 off and I keep $1,500 for myself. So I never actually had to buy the vehicle. It's the same thing with real estate. If I find a seller that says, hey, I want to sell my house for $200,000, are you okay if I give you this $200,000, but I give it to you after I find my buyer? And they go, I don't care, as long as I just get $200,000. So what you do is you take your money, let's say you go borrow money from your uncle, or you get a partner that has $40,000 in renovation money, and you guys partner together, you invest that $40,000 into the house, and that house doesn't go from 200 to 240 in value, but because you put 40,000 into it, the house is now worth, let's say, 350. You go find a buyer for that $350,000. That buyer brings 350 to the table. You pay off the seller. You pay off your $40,000 loan with your partner, and you guys are left with $110,000 essentially to split. So technically, you never actually had to buy the house at $200,000. Does that make sense? That's a novation agreement. Very simple. Okay, and there's different iterations. Sometimes people will call these seller net listings, okay? Also, you can call them a partnership. If your state doesn't like seller net listings, you can call them partnership with the seller. So you actually create an agreement with the seller that says, hey, we're gonna partner on this deal. You're going to give the house to us with no cost and no payments. We're gonna bring the renovation money and then we'll go partner and sell the property and we'll split the profits, right? A partnership. So again, it's all kind of, there's literally 4 different ways to do a novation agreement. There are risks involved in novation agreements because same thing here with a car. If I buy this car for $7,500 or this guy commits to me at $7,500 and then it takes me 4 or 5 days, let's say, to find my buyer at $9,000, what's the likelihood that that guy is going to keep his commitment to me at $7,500 if somebody over here comes in and says, hey, I'll buy it for $7,600? Is there anything keeping him from doing that? No, there's not. And so it's the same thing here in novation land, is that you commit to this and you have to make sure your paperwork, okay, this is the cool thing about real estate, is that in real estate, I have the ability to stop this guy from selling the property, or I have the ability to make sure my $40,000 is protected through agreements and paperwork, okay? And these agreements and paperwork actually get recorded at the county recorder's office, okay? So I could go to the county recorder's office, take an agreement that me and the seller put together, let's call this an agreement, get this nice little document signed. I take that and I go to the county recorder's office and I record it, and it stops the seller from doing certain things, and it makes sure that I have control of the asset, not ownership, but control. I do teach novation agreements the proper way, right? If you guys type in novation agreements, you're gonna see on YouTube that there's people that teach novation agreements on YouTube. They are not actively doing deals, okay? They are not. They are not. They probably did deals 10 years ago, 7 years ago. All their examples are old stuff. We are actively doing novation agreements, but here's the thing. I don't want to do novations, okay? What I teach, okay? If you have to do a novation agreement, do it. But what I would much rather do, okay? What I would much rather do would be a partnership with the seller, okay? Where I literally am in a partnership, or I would rather do an agreement for sale, okay? Now, here's how this is different. What is an agreement for sale? I'll do another video about what is an agreement for sale. How about that? You don't hear me talking about novation agreements a lot because I don't think that they're that safe. I think there's better ways to do stuff like agreements for sale and partnerships with the sellers. And I'll do a whole video about what is an agreement for sale in the next video.